Hello and welcome to Melitations. I'm your host, Mela Marlity, and today before we get into it, I just want to give a quick introduction on the meditations because we're running with a new name for season 2. This podcast was formerly known as Primal Attraction, and Primal Attraction was a name that really fit for me for a while, and I loved it and I still do, but it felt like my life was drifting away from that element of myself. The way in which Primal Attraction actually came to be as a name was when I was in a different era of my life and I actually wanted to focus more on relationships and love and sex and all those kinds of things. But as I changed and I shifted my views a little bit, it became more about self-development and my own journey. So then it just didn't feel like it rang true anymore with that topic in mind. I noticed that my episodes felt to me like diary entries, and to be honest, I think this is what it is. I started this podcast with the intention of creating something to log how I grew up, basically, or I am growing up. I have a vision for myself whereby I have made it like the other podcasters that I have loved to listen to. For example, Rich Roll, Aubrey Marcus, Layla Martin. there's a bunch of people, right? And I noticed that all of these people had kind of gone through the main character building arcs of their journey in their younger years, and they had now come to a position where they understood who they were in their own skin, and off the back of that we're talking about their experiences and how it shaped and formed them. Obviously, that's not to say that life never changes. Like, life is a forever moving thing. You can face any challenge at any age. But I thought with this in mind, it would be great just to understand where I am now and document that. And also, for those of you who know me, it's one of my biggest dreams in life to become a mother one day. And in becoming a mother, a lot of the things that I do in my life at the moment is kind of with that in mind. Like, how is this going to make me a better person? And in doing so, how is it going to make me a better mother for my children? Having a log like this, God forbid I die in childbirth or before I ever get to meet my children as adults, they will have this to be able to touch on and seek guidance if they wish, or hear my voice, or know what I was doing at their age, or whatever the situation might be. It might just be an interesting story for them. Anyway, either way, whatever happens, it's fun, right? And I really believe that I'm quite interesting, actually. And I feel like I have a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Well, I think I do anyway. I think I'm pretty awesome. I don't know what you think of me, and that's none of my business, but I enjoy talking, so I suppose I'm gonna keep talking. I don't really keep track of the numbers, engagement, things like that. This is just a passion project of mine. And I enjoy it. So I'm gonna get back into it because, as we all may know, I did take quite a big hiatus. And the reason for that is because this is such an actually, before I get really into it, I want to just let you guys know, for those of you who are just listening, I am currently in a hostel. I've been living here since March, and I'm in a 4-bed dorm at the moment, which means I sleep in a bunk bed. Luckily tonight, on the 1st of July, how amazing, I have no other bunkmates or roommates even, so the place is all mine, so I get to spread. I want to talk today about balance, and that seems so simple, right? Balance seems so easy, but when you actually start practicing it or trying to find it, oh my fucking God, does the ego want to come into play and just be like, no. Finding balance in life has meant that I have had to strip away my entire identity and take time to understand who I am at my core again. It's almost like an identity reboot, or I suppose in a spiritual term, an ego death. I came to Australia an entirely different person, right? In fact, I left England as an entirely different person. If you want to know the story about how I ended up here, please go and listen to episode 11 of the last series. That will kind of give you a rough idea, I can't actually remember what I said, so it might give you a full roundabout of what led me here. So if you're interested in, working holiday visas and stuff like that, maybe listen to that. I might talk about it, but I do have another episode coming that touches more on working holiday visas, if that's something that you're thinking about doing. But yeah, let's talk about identity first. Let's get that out of the way. I'll talk about the kind of person that I used to be. Now, I have come to realize that I have had different iterations of myself. And when I say myself, I mean my meat suit, my mind, and my soul, and my ego. You know what? The whole fucking shebang. But either way, there's been different iterations. Now, as a child, that was one side of myself, the version of myself where I was fearful to stand up to people that were being nasty, to stand up for what I wanted. And you know what I've realised as a 27-year-old? I still have to deal with some of those beliefs and feelings that I have, and I'm working actively to try and dismantle them, because, to be honest, standing up for yourself, taking up space and laying your boundaries, for me personally, that's a hard skill to have, and it's only become apparent to me at 27 that these are things that I still need to work on, and these are things that started becoming prevalent in my life at the age of fucking 3. So when they talk about healing the inner child, they're not fucking joking. I'll tell you that much, for starters, mains and desserts. But that being said, that was one iteration of myself, for an example, right? And then we had this awkward, gullible, and I don't mean to shit on her, an awkward, gullible, woe is me, I'm a broken doll, I'm incapable of love, being loved or loving, not good enough. Those were my opinions of myself at the time, by the way. I wouldn't ever look at myself at that age and think you're a fucking twat. I don't know about that, actually. But still, that iteration of myself was setting myself up for failure, and that definitely presented itself in my life, in the way that it went, in the way that I dealt with my feelings, my emotions, my attractions, the rejecting people before they even had a chance to reject me, because, I couldn't even bear to try. Fuck me, has that wound reared its arse in my face? Yeah, rejection is a fucking big thing. Oh my god, so much has happened. A lot of these learnings have come about because I went to a very special little retreat for my 27th birthday, which I might actually touch on in future episodes. I don't know if I'm 100% ready to talk about it yet. It was a very interesting journey, trip, vibe, if you get my gist. If you don't you worry. Your calling will come soon enough. But yeah, so that was my awkward teen self, potentially, I think. And then in my later teen years, early 20s, I was finding myself in different ways. I ended up in a relationship. I think I've finally started to understand and grieve that relationship 2 years on. And it's such a mixed bag of emotions at times. It's such a... I don't even know how to describe it, but I was talking with one of my friends at the hostel today, and I was saying about how I feel like a lot of the decisions that I've made in my life and experiences that I've had have felt like I've made this active choice to live in this intensive course kind of way. Like, you can either do driving lessons spread out, 2 hours once a week, or however many you can afford over the span of a year or something along those lines, 6 months, I don't know. Or you can do a week's intensive course. Now, I might be naive in thinking this because 27 isn't that old, but I feel like I look at some of the things in my life, whether that be family, relationships, growing up, and I've actively chosen a more extreme and intensive version of all of those things. And I don't mean to say that in a wow, I'm fucking brilliant or woe is me kind of way again. In a kind of, I believe that I came to this planet with the intention to go through these things. I've actively made the decision to be this kind of person. I've actively chosen to be in this body. I've actively chosen to face the hurdles that I have faced, or I am facing, or will face, because at the end of the day, they're all going to be the things that make me me, and they will make me a success, because I know that all the adversity, all of the success, the achievements, the accolades that I have been lucky enough to receive, I don't know what accolades I'm talking about, but or will receive, the life that I have led and the life that I have experienced will all be paramount to getting there and all be necessary. I don't think that my life will be possible without any of these things, but this is my experience of my life, right? And for me, Kelly Clarkson's "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Babes. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, the identity that rings closest and most true to me is the one that I had of late. Now, in this version of myself, I really struggle with this actually, because I don't know fully how I feel about some of these things still. I don't know how to word it, so I apologize if I'm butchering it, but I'm doing the best that I can. I was a vegan for almost a decade. I felt like my sexuality was in the direction of being bisexual, or was bisexual. I found myself really struggling through an eating disorder, something that I'm still not 100% over, I don't think. Like it's still something that, is up here. And the perception of my self-worth and my image, again, these are things that I'm still working on. My job, being comfortable, living in England, all of these things, having my support circle, my friends nearby, and having a fun social life, all of these things, my family, some of my friends dwindled away. Like, it's not all good stuff that I'm missing as well. There are other things as well. I look at all of these parts of my personality, or what I thought was my personality, my identity, and I don't know what was true and what wasn't anymore. I'd been doing all of those things for so long that I hadn't checked in with myself to see if I was still okay with them, but checked in with myself and not others. I have always been the kind of person that is very reliant on other people's opinions on what I should do, how I should be, what I should look like, how I should eat. Like, I hate to say it, fairly easily manipulated at times. And I think the biggest shift in my personality that showed me this was the veganism. I'm not saying that to be like, I hate fucking veganism and how the fuck could I do that for a decade, because I completely understand the logic behind it. I understand the morals behind it, and I still wholeheartedly stand in support of people that wish to do that, and I understand it. But for me, as I grow older, I'm really starting to learn that having this all or nothing behavior isn't conducive to living a healthy life. Now, I'm saying this, and again, my opinion could change next week. I don't want to say that this is right. You've got to do what's right for you. But for me at present, I really feel like my all or nothing behavior and tendencies actually led me into darkness at times. As we're talking about veganism, let's continue with that for the time being. I mean, I was a pretty strict vegan for almost 10 years straight, right? No honey, near the end I was purchasing like leather products and things because I thought it was more sustainable for the planet, considering the fact that the vegan alternatives usually, correct me if I'm wrong, or please don't correct me, but just know that I'm aware of the fact that I could be wrong. Some of the vegan alternatives were typically made from plastics, if it's a faux leather, for example, polyurethane, things like that, unless of course it's like a pineapple leather or mushroom leather or cork. But then again, you know, how long is that product going to last in comparison to a hard-wearing leather version? But there were days where I would lose myself, especially with the eating disorder, and I would feel this uncontrollable need to binge and purge and take it out on myself. It was a way of exhibiting control on my system, my ecosystem, when everything else seemed to be slipping out of my fingers. It was also a way to relinquish my anger by physically harming myself in a certain kind of way. Like the action of actually purging made me feel something. And because I was vegan and I was restrictive in that way, if the only things around me were like, I don't know, a pack of fucking chocolate digestives, I would smash out all of the digestives, not just one or two just because, well, you know, I fancy it, I'm craving it, I'm gonna have it, but just being like, oh my god, I've done such a bad thing, like I need to eradicate this whole packet from the house. I remember one time, this is how you can kind of see my version of insanity when it came to food. It still probably remains a little bit, but there was a day where I really wanted a fucking chocolate digestive, a milk chocolate digestive to be specific. And I felt terrible because a mother cow has had their baby cow taken away from them to produce the milk for that chocolate digestive, which, by the way, is not a lie. And I went in for one and then I was like, well, I fucked it, ruined it. But also these can't stay in the house. But there was something in my mind saying, but I can't not eat them. So I actively opened the whole packet, took a bite of each biscuit and put them in the bin. Or like ate half of one and then just like would just repeatedly just do that motion. Because if it's in the bin and I put other shit on top of it, then I don't want to eat it because it's then rubbish. That's one part of my personality and one part of the struggles that I have faced and sometimes continue to face or battle in my head. Eating disorders are not fun, and it's not. As someone that's been in an eating disorder, I actually want to say since 6. I physically started, you know, the binging and purging at 12, so still 15 years of my life. And I, just a quick recap, I started noticing my body and being uncomfortable in it at 6. And being like, I'll lose weight, please can I have this pretty outfit, I know they don't have my size, I'll lose weight, And then I started restricting at 8. And that's my experience with eating disorders. And as a person who has dealt with it for, actually been conscious of my eating habits and my body for over 20 years, seeing things online like skinny talk and people being like, tell me the maddest shit that you did to lose weight in like a fortnight, no like juice cleanse bullshit, like the hardest shit you did. And it actually, the part of me that still has the eating disorder goes on the comments and it's like, what have these people done? And I won't lie to you, considering this is my diary, over the last few weeks I felt this real call and need to shift my body weight again in an unhealthy way, not in a loving way of, you know, wanting to find longevity again and wanting to find peace in my body and being able to move freely and, you know, create a body that can hold children and all this kind of stuff, which is my ultimate motivation in my heart of hearts of hearts of hearts that is buried very deep. At present, I kind of feel like I saw the rise of Ozempic in celebrity and was able to ignore it because I was on my own shit, I was doing my shit. But now that I've kind of seen an influx of it with people that I know or people who are in my age range or younger influencers and things like that, and just feeling like, oh my god, like, do I need to do I need to jump in on this bandwagon? Because, like, everyone's running away and I'm, like, still here. So again, this is a part of my identity at the moment where I'm really struggling with it. And I want to be honest with you about that, because it's not fun. So if there are any of you that are struggling through thoughts around your image, your diet, things like that, just know that doing it from a place of hate is never going to achieve anything sustainable. But also, just doing it from love is such a healthier place, and the way in which you can create longevity with it, create sustainable and healthy habits and a love for food, and, you know, have good intentions and vibes and frequencies and and all of this. I just urge you to do your research, focus on finding sustainable long-term ways to shift or change if you wish to, and just don't expect change overnight. I know it's so easy to believe and see because that's how it looks like it's going for people these days, but just be you and just focus on you, because you are the way you are for a reason. And if you want to change, if you feel like you need to change, that's okay. You know, we're not 1,000-year-old trees that can't move. Even still, they move with the wind. We have the option to ebb and flow, and it's okay to ebb and flow. But anyway, that was my big sister advice for the day. I feel like I've talked enough about identity, but in essence, what I'm trying to say is there have been different iterations of myself, and there will be different iterations of myself. I had my hairy girl phase, my all natural phase, my, you know, so many different variations, right? And currently, my identity has been stripped. I came here and I was like, I don't know who the fuck I am anymore. Everything had shifted. Everything had changed. Everything felt like it was out of my control. And I had no option but to just surrender and live not only week by week in terms of accommodation, but live day by day. And I'm still in that position. I'm still living day by day. Like, I feel a little bit more settled here. But if my circumstances change, if my working situation changes, if a room comes up, I don't know. Everything could change. I could be back home next week. God knows, right? Touch wood, no, because I'm really enjoying finding myself and showing myself that I can do all of this shit on my own and not be reliant on anyone, and I'm independent and I can do tough shit. I'm going to have to do my taxes eventually. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's big girl shit. And I'm proud of myself for that. But I keep getting distracted. Oh God, I can talk forever, can't I? But balance. I don't want to say balance is my new identity, but it feels like that's the direction I'm trying to lean into. And for me, balance is, it's not about saying that I'm one thing or the other. I still have days where I'm like, should I go back to being a vegan? And I know it's my ego, because I think that I'm morally superior for being a vegan. That I have been able to see the world in a different way and all these kinds of things. But then I might be morally superior in one aspect, but I need to listen to my body and I need to be intuitive. And if that means I feel the need to consume animal products once a week, so be it. That's balance, right? The problem in itself with consuming too much meat is the fact that some people consume it every day. I was one of those people. I'd consume it every meal. I couldn't imagine a meal without meat. And that led to me having numerous health conditions. The fact that I was eating processed foods and not understanding the nutritional value of what I was consuming led to me being pre-diabetic, heavily overweight at like the age of 11, insulin resistance, a bunch of different things that luckily shifting into veganism helped strip away. But then nearing the end of my veganism, the balance shifted in the wrong direction. You know, it wasn't healthy again. And when I say it wasn't healthy, there were iterations where I was eating fucking bricky calf food like chips, beans, shrooms, fried shit, you know, processed butters, processed seed oils, like just so much shit. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the ingredients in a vegan product, I'm sorry, but I don't know what they are. I'll tell you this though, I do fucking love them. I think they're delicious, but I don't know what they are. So the instances in which I will consume those foods are far lower now, as my understanding becomes a little bit more whole, I think, anyway, I hope. But yeah, being one way or the other, is, I think, from my understanding, it's about processed foods. Processed foods are what cause disease. Overconsumption of anything can cause disease. Fucking overconsumption of, I'm sure, Brussels sprouts can cause some kind of digestive issue. God knows that shit makes you gassy as shit. Right? Everything in moderation. This is something that the Buddha taught. He taught about the middle path. That living in one excess or the other, or one extreme or the other, was never conducive to a peaceful life with as little suffering as possible. And somehow that's the path I've ended up on. I've ended up on this journey to kind of find what balance means to me. And I'm sure that balance has the potential to change at any given point in life. You know, balance is a very personal thing. For some, let's say David Goggins, for example. Now, for David Goggins, balance is going for a run at 4 a.m. or whenever he can before an early morning flight or a meeting. It's cycling, I don't know how many K a day. It's doing all of those things. That, for him, creates balance. And there's been a time in his life where he's done far more than that. So for him, that's a 5K. I presume it's not, but in this example, it's a 5K, right? Now, for me, as I am, I can aspire to something like that in the future. I don't know if it's something that I want yet. I think my ego wants it to say that I'm really fucking cool and I'm hard as shit. But the reality of it, I don't know if I actually want it. But for me at present, balance is waking up on time, getting my ass to work. It would be really nice if I woke up a little bit earlier and went to sleep a little bit earlier so I could wake up and maybe put a little bit of makeup on before work. Maybe have a shower. Yeah, I know. I work in traffic control, guys. I work in traffic control. I have early morning starts. Sleep is a priority. But it would be nice if I could shift my schedule so that I can do those things. It would be nice if I could wake up earlier in the morning before work, so maybe around 4, to go to the gym. So then by the time I'm home, I don't have to think about all of those things, and my energy levels might be low, and that's okay because I've done my shit, right? It would be nice if I could fit in a run. These things are all nice things that would be balanced for me one day. But as I am now, where I'm not really gymming, I'm not really running, I'm just working, eating, sleeping, and repeating. For me, balance is trying to go for a 5-minute run after work. Not even trying, going for a 5, that's all I'm asking of myself in terms of balance at the moment. Because balance is a muscle that needs to be built. I'm asking myself to go for a 5-minute run after work. That is all. I've been trying to do couch to 5Ks for the best part of the last 5 years, I feel like. And I always get to a certain point and then it just drops off the face of the earth. I'm going to do it again. Not the dropping off the face of the earth. Fingers crossed. But if I can finish work after a really long, tired day, like maybe a 10-hour shift or something, and just say, look, I'm going to get my runners on and I'm just going to go for 5 fucking minutes, not even a K, I would be happy as. Considering the way that I used to be, the way that I used to feel in my body, running 5 minutes a day is still hard, and for me a fucking massive achievement. So that's an example of balance for me. But for example, for David Goggins, he'd think that that's the laziest shit on the face of the fucking earth. I don't agree, because it's hard for me, so that's cool for me. But I suppose what I'm trying to say in a very roundabout kind of way is balance is all a matter of perspective. And my new hunt in life isn't perfectionism. As I've spoken in the past, I really struggle with perfectionism. But it's just taking the tiny fucking steps to create some kind of order, discipline, and balance in my life. If you did listen to some of my last episodes of Primal Attraction, you would have heard about my journey into getting into the gym, and I speak about my first gym session being sitting in the car park and then driving straight out because I didn't have the confidence to go in. But I look back and I think, fuck me, Mel, if I didn't even have the confidence just to drive into the car park, would I have lost 25 kilograms? Maybe not. It may have taken me a different route. It may have taken me a different time. I might not have met my PT. I might not have been able to keep myself to a standard and hit my goals. And it's just about taking those tiny steps again. And I'm acknowledging the fact that for me, as I am now, I feel like I've fallen off the fucking wagon. If I could see myself as the person that I used to be, I'd be fucking cheering myself on. But, you know, again, it's all a matter of perspective. So what I'm saying is, in this diary entry, in this meditation, I'm going to aim to run for 5 minutes a day and see how I get on. And that to me is a small enough step that I'm happy with just to get started. Even if I don't go any further than 5 minutes, it's still fucking 5 minutes. And you know what, with that logic, I'll probably end up running more and more, because eventually 5 minutes is going to feel like a piece of piss to me, and I'm going to be like, oh, actually I want to run to this place, or I'm going to run this errand, or whatever, and my energy will increase. So I think that's all for episode 1 of meditations. This is simply my meditation today. It's my understanding of balance. It's my learning of what it means to be balanced and how I can actually implement it in my life. And this season, I'm gonna kind of lean more into my feminine. I'm gonna be softer with myself, and I'm gonna honor my body, my mind, my soul, how I'm feeling. But I want that to all come from a balanced place of still not neglecting the things and the goals that I want to achieve, because I don't want to use these things as excuses either. I just want to make sure that what I'm doing is right by me and right by my body. So I don't want to push myself on the days where I'm really like, I'm going to pass out. I don't want to be yawning in the gym anymore. I don't want to be underfueling myself. I want to be taking the steps to make sure that my vessel is in a position where it can actually do the things that it wants to do. You know? And that's a compound interest kind of thing. That's something that's going to build over time. It's a stamina thing. Again, it's another muscle that needs building for me. On that note, I should probably head to bed just in case I'm not rained off work tomorrow. And I hope you enjoyed this diary entry of mine. I know it was a bit vulnerable at times, and I hope that's okay with you. I hope there might be something in there that resonates with some of you as you're going along in your own journeys. And if there is anything that you would like to let me know, any feedback, anything you would like me to talk about in the future, as ever, please feel free to message. And I just hope wherever you are, you have the most beautiful day and you enjoy whatever weather you have. Currently in Sydney, it is raining cats and dogs, as we say back home. It's kind of nice. At least the flowers and the vegetables and the plants are getting watered, right? So there's that. But please, if you're back home, enjoy the sun. Wherever you are, enjoy whatever weather you have and be grateful for it, because guess what? You got to fucking wake up today. How fucking cool. You get to wake up and do it again. Nice. So how are you going to make it the best day ever? Yeah. I wonder what I'm going to talk about in the next one. I wonder what's going to change in my life. But I'll see you in the same place, at the same time, next week. Bye.